agenda item is ordinance number 1933. Kevin, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, Council members. Before you is Ordinance 1933. 1933 is a follow-on ordinance to Ordinance 1932, which was passed last month. And 1933 proposes amendments that are follow-on to the FCC order that came out in the end of September. And in 1933, we are making changes related to that order where we had either a conflict or we felt that we should make changes now to get it. This is a fast-moving technology, so we spent the last 2 or 3 weeks going through it. There is not really anything substantial as far as an applicant would have to deal with. It is more, actually there's a bunch in here that just cleans up, makes it easier to read, cleans up some grammar, and adds those sections where the FCC is specific on prohibitions, and it talks in a couple places about prohibitions and how we would deal with that. It is still very general. I think you'll see more specific detail in an actual franchise agreement. I'm willing to answer any questions if you've gone through it that you may have, but I don't think there's anything in this document that an applicant would have issues with as far as what we've added.
Questions of Kevin? Kevin, the FCC made some additional comments within the last couple days. They're going to impact this again, do you think?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. I think the order goes in effect in January.
Right.
And there are at least 3 or 4 lawsuits out there. And we don't, while we've talked about amending the document, we don't want to continuously amend the document. And we are now looking to place some of the stuff in the franchise agreement. The franchise agreement is still a very powerful document. Mm-hmm. And is the real detail of what our agreement will be with an applicant.
Okay, so the FCC is making running changes, but we may not see it in our ordinance. We'll see it in the franchise agreement.
I think that's the way it will go down the road, yes.
Okay.
But the big changes have been in the order. I mean, the shot clock has been changed. They're basically telling us, you better have a good reason to deny somebody from doing this. And in some cases, we can't even deny it.
Prohibited from denying
right,
it. Right,
exactly. And so some of the changes we made related to our appeal process just discusses that. But the time frames are all still the same. Shot clock is all still the same.
Okay. Question? Fred?
Kevin, and I know that the detail is in the franchise agreement as you stated, but just in general terms, how much leeway does a municipality such as ours have based on this ordinance with any provider? Because you stated just a couple of minutes ago that there may be some things that you can't do much, if anything, about.
Yeah, correct. I mean, the FCC is giving them essentially access to a right-of-way, and especially a co-location. A co-location would be an existing pole. And a co-location on an existing pole on a right-of-way, we would have, we'd be severely limited on being able to change that scenario. I mean, we can clearly sit down and say, can you put it on this pole? This one is in an area just 2 poles down. Can you move it? That kind of stuff is there. We can talk about that. The question of how big the box looks like, the color of the box, those are things that get into the franchise agreement. But if we say you can have a 2 cubic foot box and they want a 3 cubic foot, they're going to get a 3 cubic foot probably. So, but co-locations, we're going to be somewhat limited on what we can do. Now, on a new structure, we'll have more of a say. And there's another piece to this. It won't impact. We won't see this very much because we don't own our own poles. In many cases, where a municipality owns all the poles in the city, that is essentially another agreement, which we've already basically have a template for that. And that is essentially a direct contract between us and the applicant. That you get a little more control over. Most of the things we're going to see are going to be co-locations. And, the franchise agreement is where the detail is. And we're going to try and make that as tight as possible. We have an historic district. That is a consideration, but the FCC says it's not a showstopper. You can't just say you can't put it in a historic district. I think from my perspective, the good news is these devices, these boxes are getting better all the time. They are hearing the pushback. They are trying to make them more stealthier. They are making them smaller and trying to make them fit in better. If you've been to Ocean City, they got the new ones with the bases on them and all that. In those cases, you really got to look to see those. You kind of don't notice them if you're walking around. But the co-locations where they get in the poles is what we really want to try and focus on so they don't look like a whole bunch of wires going everywhere and it's ugly. But they've also said aesthetics. You don't have a lot to say. You can't just say, we don't like the way it looks. Right. And initially, a lot of municipalities had no dishes. You couldn't put them on there. And a lot of homeowner associations, townhouses said, you can't do it. And then they came out and said, sorry, you're overruled. These dishes can go on these houses and townhouses. So this is as we've talked about, this is a major rollout of a technology that is going worldwide, but is really starting to ramp up in our country. And it's going to happen. It's just we got to figure out how to do it. Thank you, Mr. President. The mayor wanted me to talk to you about Microsoft Office 365 and our change in direction and heading to what is a cloud-based email system and a cloud-based Office, Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office is the primary software we use to do 90% of our work, our staff work. Currently, that equipment now resides on premise. We have servers here, and they're in this building. It's called on premise. Microsoft Office 365 is all in the cloud. It is in various data centers. The data center closest to us is probably in Northern Virginia, but they're all over the country. They're all redundant, and they have backups. They can move to wherever you need to get to. So the benefit of having Office 365 in the cloud is we can access it from anywhere. If the council is in Los Angeles for a conference, they have access to everything they would need. They have their files, they have their mail. The add-ons that I'll talk about in a second in Office 365, they have access to. If you're at home, there's a snowstorm, you can't get to work, you can get on your home computer, you can log in Office 365, you get your mail, you can get your files, and continue to work. The current situation in that scenario is you would have to have a VPN. And while we do have employees with VPN, that has been generally limited due to the remote. They remote directly into our network. There are various other add-ons we get. There's new products now attached to Office 365 that's just coming out called Teams and Planner. These are applications where we can set up work groups, project groups, where you can do collaboration. Let's say we're doing planning for the Main Street Festival. We put the people in that group. They have access to all the documents. There's chat. You can chat within that group, within the members of that team. That scenario we do not have now. So it will give us tools to actually manage projects. And I'm talking engineering projects, or I'm talking, it could be the ERC Christmas party, the 5 people running that. So I look forward to that kind of collaboration and the ability to share documents. We'll also have SharePoint, which is Microsoft's premier file sharing and depository. And we would get Yammer, which is a chat-based. I think in general, we would go with the Teams and Planner approach because there's chat within that also. You'll also be able to get this, as I said, from your desktop at home, your desktop at work. You can get it on your iPhone, you get it on your iPad, and your laptop. So if you're in the airport, getting on a plane, you need to write a memo, you can do it right there. With that, we get cloud-based storage for each person about 1 terabyte, which is significant. So as I said, this is a change in direction. In the current CIP, the plan this year was we are currently on Microsoft Exchange Server 2013, which is the mail system. Our intent was to upgrade that to Exchange Server 19, which just came out. And our intent was to put a server here and a server at the police department for redundancy. In looking at a couple of things, one was we are in a lot of COOP planning going on in the last 6 months probably. In our COOP discussions, we realized that, or I realized that if this building were to go down, we were going to lose mail. We did not have a scenario to keep mail up. That was the reason we were going to buy 2 servers, one here and one at the police station. That would give us redundancy on mail. Files, we were okay on. They're at both places. The other aspect that we have on the Microsoft Office side is versioning. We currently have a few Microsoft Office 2010s. Mostly we're on Microsoft Office 2013 and 2016. With Microsoft Office 365, everybody in the city will be on the same version. And when those versions get upgraded, you get the version automatically. We will not necessarily have to go around and upgrade every desktop like we do now, and we won't have different versions out there. In this scenario, patching and security is taken care of by Microsoft. We don't have a server in the building that we've got to be concerned about. Microsoft has it. We will no longer have VPNs, which are generally safe, but we really want to limit those outside connections directly to our network. And there is some training that has to go on with a VPN. In some cases, we give people VPN access, they log in, it works, and then they need to do it 3 months later, and they can't remember how to log in. So that takes that scenario out of the picture. Besides the COOP scenario, the other thing that kind of changed my mind on this is Microsoft has already said that Exchange Server 2019 will be the last on-premise Exchange server they're going to have. And Microsoft Office 2019, which was just released, will be the last Office product where you can get a disk and load it on your computer. These were going to be 5 years, and that was my intent when we did CIP, was we would be on this for 5 years. 5 years from now, Microsoft has already said you're going in the cloud in 5 years. So looking at that, looking at our COOP scenarios, it just seemed like, and the other things that I just mentioned, that we should probably just make the transition, start the transition now, and get on board, because Microsoft has taken us to the cloud. And in general, whether you want to do it or not. The other thing is, one of my thoughts was cost, and I'll talk about cost in a second. It is a significant cost to do this. So we're in a planning phase right now, and there's 3 products. It's called G1, G3, and G5. G means government. E is the corporate or business. With government, you get more security. And with each version, G1, G3, and G5, you get more stuff. Our approach right now is we currently are looking at licensing 190 employees. We have probably 230 employees that hit our system occasionally, but we've identified 190. A bunch of those employees are going to be on the G1 plan. That is basically cloud email and cloud office. So that means their stuff is in the cloud. We will not get a license to put on a desktop with that. And they'll have a little bit limited capabilities on some file sharing and SharePoint, but they still get the cloud file storage and everything. Most professional staff and people who are on a computer every day, working on documents, those will be at the G3 level. They will actually have a client on their desktop. And they will have, if we want to put it on a laptop, be able to put a client on a laptop. The versioning is all the same. They all stay updated. And so we did the pricing, and I'll give you the pricing in a second. We put a lot of people who are not heavy users in the G1, and most of the police department is in the G1. That gives the officers in their MDTs, and they're on the streets, they're on the road, they're in the cloud. And most of those officers are not heavy users of the Microsoft Office platform. The Office version of the cloud is a little bit lighter than the full version. But if you're not doing reports and doing books and collating and doing all that heavy stuff, the Office cloud product works fine. We have identified two issues in our planning process. One is local storage sync. I would like to be able to sync your OneDrive cloud to a local file server, which you can do. The only issue is that the user has to have be a little bit technology literate. So we're trying to find a way around that. But in the meantime, your files are stored in the cloud, and we'll back them up through one of our other processes. The second is voicemail. Office 365 will break our current voicemail scenario, and I have a couple meetings at the end of this week to talk about how we're going to fix that. There is a way we can do it. Hopefully, it's not going to cost more money, but it will break our voicemail. Bowie just made a transition just to do mail, and I asked them. I was meeting with them last week, and I asked, "What do you do for voicemail?" And they said, "We don't have it anymore." I was just like, "What?" So I don't know if they didn't think about it or what, but so they broke their voicemail, and they have not gone to the Office products yet. They're holding off. So,
Right fast. When you say break the voicemail, explain that.
So, right now, Councilmember Sidner, is you have a voicemail. So, in my case, if somebody calls my office and I'm not at my desk, they can leave a voicemail on my phone. At the same time, that voicemail will be sent in an email to my email on my desktop and on my mobile phone. So if I'm eating lunch in this downtown, I will get a look at my phone, and I'll be able to actually listen to the voicemail on my phone, even though they call my desk phone. And when they went to Office 365, that broke. So as he said, he no longer gets his voicemail on his email anymore, and that's a nice feature to have. If you're on the road especially. Let me talk about cost. So right now, with the breakdown that we're looking at of G1 and G3, we're looking at about $25K a year, $25,000. That would be added to the IT operating budget. That's 190 people, and a G1 plan is per person per month. So a G1 is about $7 a person. A G3 is about $18 a person. I suspect as we go down the road here, there'll be some movement within the G1 and G3 plan based on people saying, I need this or I need that. So this could go another couple $1,000s higher over the next couple of years. Also in that, we will also be using IT assistance, a vendor, an integrator, to take us through the initial setup, and I suspect that will be $10,000 to $20,000 to help us put this all together and make it work. That funding is in place in the CIP. This current funding is in the CIP. The big question that you all need to be aware of is that we're going to have a recurring cost here. That will be about $25K, I think, right now. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
I have a question. So you said the IT vendor is 20,000?
It'll be, I've had, we were talking to several, and I have one at 10, I have one at 20, I have one at 30.
And this is for maintenance? Correct?
No, this is for, to come in and set up our accounts. There's integration with Microsoft that has to be done in the background. All the things that need to be boxes checked and this added, files connected in the background. We have to transition all our mail on our server now to the cloud. It all has to be moved. So what we're doing is we're getting the technical plan together, and then what will likely happen is we will have that vendor do the first 4 or 5, get it all set up in the background, do the first 4 or 5, and then we'll do the rest. We're not going to pay them to do the whole 190. We'll do it ourselves. We'll probably do it over a couple months or a month or two.
So for maintenance?
So the maintenance, you can ultimately, realistically say the maintenance will be $25,000 a year, because at that $7 a month and $18 a month, that includes everything.
Okay.
All the patching, all the security. If anything goes wrong.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Smalls?
Thank you, Mr. President. Kevin, I certainly know that most applications have moved or are moving to the cloud, so it's good forward thinking. How about licensing? I mean, for user licenses, are there costs involved? Are there licenses that are required for users?
No.
In this?
I mean, the licensing transitions from what we have today, which is every person has a license on their computer for
Right.
Microsoft Office or Exchange. In this, it's a flat rate per person per month, depending on what plan you're on. If you're on the G1, which is basically Mail Cloud, Office Cloud, $7 a month. And then G3 is Mail and Office in the cloud, but you can have a desktop component also.
So the cost, as you're describing, is already budgeted, or you mentioned the CIP,
So the CIP, what's budgeted in the CIP is 2 new Exchange servers
right? Right.
and a complete transition to Microsoft Office 2019. That money is about $60,000 to $65,000 total.
But the ongoing cost, the monthly,
The ongoing cost will be picked up in the next budget.
okay.
So what you're going to see is whatever this number comes to, 24.5, 25.5, whatever we settle out at. And by the way, this will be on state contract. The licensing is on state contract. And the vendor we select will most likely be on state contract. So yeah, we'll do state contract pricing. So in February, well, when the budget gets submitted in February, when you'll get it probably in March or April, you will see that number in there.
Okay. And my last question is sort of a selfish one as it relates to the council. Can you tell us sort of what, if any, direct benefit moving to 365 would give the council? Because we're sort of limited in some of the access.
Yeah, so I think it's going to enhance your access. Because on that iPad, you're going to be able to get your mail and any files that you will have your actual directory, which you only would get if you come into council office and log in. You'll have that with you at all times. And also, if you come home at night and go on your home computer, and maybe there's a couple ordinances that were sent out you want to pull up and read. You can go on your home computer, log in. You can open up with an Outlook, or you can go to your directory and pull those, anything you had in your directory. If you were out in a conference, you get documents emailed to you. You can put them, make folders in your directory. The council has limited access to directory unless they really want to come in and go in the council office all the time.
Right.
This is going to give you the ability to store your own documents, capture things that are important to you. Plus, you would have the full ability to do teams and planning if you wanted to create some teams within council.
Okay, all right.
And you'll, the calendar and the scheduling will be enhanced also.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Small. Anybody else?
I got a comment.
I appreciate the technology. I just want to little stuck on. You said, can you explain to me again? You said if you get a phone call to your desk phone, that it automatically go to your, if you're out of the office, it transferred to. Can you explain that process to me again?
Yeah, so if I get somebody calls my office receptionist, she sends it to my desk phone. It'll leave an actual voicemail on my phone, the light will blink, but at the same time, it will send an email with the recording attached to it. So I will get it on my phone, or when I come back, I log into my computer, check my email, that voicemail will be there. But if I'm at Chick-fil-A eating lunch, I can look down and see, oh, I got a voicemail. I pull up my phone. There's a recording on there. You hit the play button, and I can listen to that recording. So they didn't call my cell phone. They called my desk phone, but I can still get that voicemail.
Yeah, and that's why that was my question. I think we can save some costs, like Bowie, if we don't have that feature, because you still have a cell phone. So a person call you, leave a message on your desk phone, they can, your voicemail will say, here's my cell number, so they can just call you on your cell phone. You know.
Well, I don't know that we're going to have any cost now, because right now we have it. I'm hoping to keep it at no cost. But, you know, in the interest of time, I can talk to you. But we looked at voicemail 4 or 5 years ago, and we did went around the city and asked, should we get rid of voicemail? And the overwhelming number of employees said, no, we want voicemail. There are corporations and businesses that are getting away from voicemail now.
Yeah, I know that. I know a lot of corporations don't have voicemail.
But a lot of our employees do not have city issued cell phones.
Right. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Mayor, if you could, let me just ask one question. Let me go aside from what you've presented so far. One of the things I know we're struggling with in the federal government is the security aspect, especially when you get to things like police department, sensitive information. Is there a provision for that? And I'll give you for example. Not so sure we want to put all the cam film up on the cloud right away. I don't know what the security aspects of that are, but I'm sure there's some security requirements. And that brings me to the last question: Who is the security officer for IT in the city?
Me.
Is that a good position to be in as director of IT? I'll just ask that question. I'm not looking for an answer. I've been through that and struggled with that at work. Okay, but I am concerned about people's perspective that everything's going to be on that cloud, and I'm not so sure that that's.
No, I share that thought.
Okay, there may be some additional discussion about that. I appreciate that, Kevin. Thank you, Mayor.
Just real quick, reason I wanted Kevin to update the council, I wanted y'all to know where we're going, where I've asked him to move to. If not, we have to continue to buy servers, we have to continue to buy licensing, all of these other things, and it's just, as you heard, 4 or 5 years down the road, we're going to be right back where we're at right now, and I'd rather us move forward in this direction, and I think it'll enhance not only council and staffs, but also the general public, allowing them to be able to get more information back and forth from staff, from the council. So, thank you.
Look forward to further discussion, Kevin. Okay, we will adjourn the work session, and I'll call to order the 20th meeting of the Mayor and City Council. Anybody wants to speak, there's a sign-up sheet to my right in the chamber. We'll all rise for the invocation led by Reverend Warren Litchfield and Pledge of Allegiance led by the mayor.
Almighty God, we gather this evening hour to conduct the business of this city. We offer prayer for America and for all in authority. And strength and wisdom as they perform their duties in behalf of all thy people. We commend to your gracious care in keeping all the men and women of our armed forces at home and abroad, our law enforcement community, and find and rescue and thy people. Defend them day by day with your heavenly grace. Strengthen them in their trials and temptations. Give them courage to face the perils that beset them, and grant unto each a sense of your abiding presence wherever they may be. Remember those upon a bed of affliction. Comfort those who mourn. In the name of the one who is Lord of life, we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Anna, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mr. DeWalt,
Here.
Mr. Sidnor,
Here.
Ms. Nicholas,
Here.
Mr. Smalls,
Here.
President Les,
Here.
Mayor Mo.
Agenda item number 2, closed session. Read the statement regarding the closed session for Tuesday, November 13th, 2018. Following statement is made regarding the adjournment of the mayor and city council to closed session on this date. The reason for adjourning to a closed session is to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. The authority for this closed session is contained in the general provisions article subsection 3-305, B in a bucket, 7 in a bucket. Signed by me this date. We won't be long, but it'll be the council, the mayor, Sarah, Anna, Larry, anybody else from the staff, Mayor? City Administrator, I'm sorry. Bill, I left you out.
You gotta call the roll, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me have a motion to adjourn to executive session, please.
So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Do I have a second?
A second, Mr. President.
Thank you, Keith. Call the roll, Anna.
Mr. Smalls,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
President Les.
Yes. Thank you.
No.
26. Move to agenda item number 3, approval of the minutes of the 19th meeting of the Mayor and City Council. All had a chance to look at these. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Any comments? Call roll. Anna?
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
President Les?
Yes. Move to agenda item number 4. For the Mayor and City Council, we'll start tonight, Mr. Smalls.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very brief. The highlight I will share is our National League of Cities conference that we attended. I had the opportunity to sit in on a number of very informative workshops, and I'll be very happy and excited to share some of the things that we've learned with the city. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Ms. Nicholas?
Thank you. I too attended that conference, and I must say that the workshops were very informative. They had workshops such as youth services, livable communities, affordable housing, and homelessness. And it was just interesting to talk to other municipalities where you could take back and put in your toolkit about best practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. Mr. Sidnor?
Thank you, Mr. President. On October 24th, I attended a meeting of Annapolis with Engaged Outreach Committee for MML. On October 25th, I attended an open house for Discover You Health. On October 25th, we passed out candy for on Main Street, the trick or treat. And on October 27th, I attended the Halloween Spectacular at Robert DePietro Center. And October 27th, I attended a gospel concert at the Laurel Lake Senior Apartment. 7901 Laurel Lake Court. And like Mr. Smalls and Ms. Nicholas said, attended a conference, and I provided some information to the city administrator and also to the chief of police and the mayor, since I was representative of the Public Safety Committee, on some resolutions that's coming out of the MML to move forward public safety. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Sidnor. Mr. DeWalt.
Thank you. On Wednesday, October 24th, I attended at SIP Restaurant, where Main Street was honored with the privilege of being named Main Street, Maryland. It's taken a long time to get that recognition, but it's a great thing for the citizens on the businesses on Main Street and the Main Street corridor. On Thursday, Trick or Treat on Main Street. It's definitely one of the top 3 events that outline exactly what this city and this community is. And now that we closed down almost all of Main Street, eventually I think it will all get closed down. It's a wonderful, wonderful event that everybody should attend and see how many children actually come out to that. It's fabulous. Then on Friday, I worked up at the Senior Center. That was during early voting. I helped a lot of the candidates in Prince George's County and helped out pass out flyers. And I saw a lot of citizens there. And of course, it rained most of the night I was there, like it seemed to always do on Election Day around here. On Monday, I had the honor to go to the police department where Lieutenant Mike Blything, who's a retired police officer retired lieutenant with the Laurel Police Department, his family contacted me and they wanted to do something. They said he has basically everything, so they wanted to buy a vest for one of our canine dogs. And I had his wife Bev contact actually Officer Barry in the back, and he made the arrangements. And I have some really nice pictures of the canine Reno, and it has stitched in the front of the vest in honor of Lieutenant Michael Blything. And it's what a nice present for him, and a neat way to give back to the community, especially the police department, our canine dogs and officers. On Tuesday, Squirrel Hill is probably 10 to 15 minutes from where I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. And I went to the Oakland Presbyterian Church, and never been in the church before. It's down by the golf course. And they had Singing for Solidarity, and it was in honor of the Tree of Life Synagogue and their victims. And we sang. I don't sing good, but I think everybody else drowned me out. And they taped it, and they sent it to the synagogue in their support. And that was a nice tribute to the people in Squirrel Hill. On Tuesday, I worked the polls again at Laurel Elementary School. And what I said, I supported a lot of candidates, and most of them actually won their prospective spots. And again, it poured down rain. It rained hard, but I met a lot of citizens, and it was just amazing how many people came out to vote in severe thunderstorms and rainstorms that day. On that Wednesday, November 7th, I attended my second retirement meeting. I'm learning a lot. There's a lot to learn about our retirement. And speaking of retirements, a couple of days ago, I read the letter from Chief Rich McLaughlin, who announced his retirement January 31st. And congratulations to Chief McLaughlin as he comes to my world as being a retiree from the city of Laurel. And everything that I'm gaining from these retirement meetings, I could pass on to him. My condolences to the Bola family. Jane Bola passed away. She was a member of the Citizens Police Academy alumni. And apparently the morning after she passed away, or the next morning after that, I'm not exactly sure, her husband Don passed away. And he was also a member of the Laurel Citizens Police Academy alumni. And I asked Mary and Tammy, their daughters, and Mary used to work for us, I asked them about their eulogy and their obituary, and she said that they had that Citizen Police Academy alumni in there because they were very proud to have that, which is pretty cool. And my also condolence goes out to Lieutenant Al Prince, who was a lieutenant with the Laurel Police Department, who passed away recently, and he's having his family's having a private service for him. He was one of my first lieutenants I've ever worked for at Laurel. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. As was mentioned on the October 24th, we had the Laurel Business Celebration, and it is should be noted that we applaud and appreciate our local businesses who create jobs in our community and make Laurel such a great place for business people and citizens alike. As I mentioned, the Halloween on Main Street, we ran out of candy, which is a good sign. Need more for next year. And my wife always counts how many come to Prince George Street. We had 134 when we had Halloween in Laurel. I just mentioned one thing about National League of Cities meeting. We had Elon Musk, who's a really interesting fella. He'll tell you he's not a creator or an inventor. He's an engineer. So the question was asked of him, when are we going to be on Mars? Because he said he's going to Mars. And he said 7 years or thereabouts. So we'll see where he is in 7 years. But he's an interesting fella if you ever get a chance to listen to him talk. Got a lot of good ideas. Condolences to the family of Senator Bernie Fowler on the recent passing of his wife, Rose. Rose was a constant companion at Bernie's side during my many years on the Patuxent River Commission. In fact, I tell people I inherited the Patuxent River Commission from Bernie, who had been chair for many years. And Bernie is a champion for the Patuxent River and the Chesapeake Bay. Finally, condolences to the family of Andy Moxham, a familiar face and a good friend and neighbor on 4th Street, passed away last Friday. A family member was a member of our Historic District Commission, and I will miss Andy. He was the comptroller of the census for the last census. Couldn't spend all the money, but he did a good job watching our dollars. I'll miss Andy. That concludes my report. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. My condolences to the family and friends of Don and Jane Bullough. I was sorry I missed their service. And as you heard, very dedicated individuals here in the city of Laurel that volunteered for the alumni, but also as well as the CERT. And just almost anything they were asked to do, they did it, and we appreciate that. And again, our condolences. As well as to former Lieutenant Al Prince of the Laurel Police Department. I want to offer my condolences. Al was, when I worked for the Police Department, Communications was one of the supervisors, him and Archie, that I used to work for. So Al was a good police officer and will be sorely missed. Also, get well wishes to Paul Kirkpatrick. Paul's been under the weather, and wish him the very best and speedy recovery. I think last year around this time, I told everybody I wanted to wish my father a 90th happy birthday. Although it wasn't his 90th, this year it is his 90th on the 22nd. So I wanted to make sure I got that right. So wished my dad a happy birthday. The business recognition celebration on an announcement on the city's Main Street, Maryland designation was down at SIP on C Street. I want to, Robert, thank you and your staff for the work that you all did to make that happen, and we appreciate the secretary coming in and acknowledging our efforts. We also had a new business right out back here behind City Hall, Discovery Health, which was a fall open house social. It's a new business located at 8101 Sandy Spring Road. Help senior citizens and elderly with their health needs. Trick or treat on Main Street. Again, I want to thank all of our city forces, in particular our police department, as well as the efforts of the Laurel Business Association down on Main Street. Laurel Board of Trade, excuse me. The Halloween Spectacular at the Robert J. DePietro Community Center, again, well attended, a lot of good times, a lot of fun. I want to thank Joanne and her staff for making that happen, and more importantly, thank the Lions Club, who is one of the sponsors. Is that the only one? Really been there every year, a handful that show up and help out. So I want to thank them as well. The Prince George's County Police Chiefs Association had their breakfast, was hosted by Chief McLaughlin and the Laurel Police Department, was held at the Parkman Kaiser Public Safety Complex, and thanked them and had the opportunity to welcome them all to Laurel. Excuse me. As you heard, Oakland's Presbyterian Church Sing for Solidarity. Great opportunity to bring people together in the community. And as you heard, Councilman DeWalt, this also, just so you're aware, is on Laurel TV as well. So take the opportunity. You can see how we all came together. And Carl wasn't the only one keeping his voice low, because if you ever heard me sing, we would have chased everybody out. But just a great opportunity that Presbyterian Church did to bring people together for, unfortunately, a tragic event. From November the 1st until December the 14th, at all of our city facilities, we're collecting non-perishable food items for LARS. So we encourage you to participate and drop those items off. I did out back behind City Hall. There's a karate school back there. I had the opportunity to attend the martial arts and fitness competition, the All-American Games at the Laurel Armory and Anderson Murphy Community Center, and bring greetings, and just another great opportunity for them to bring a lot of individuals from the city and outside the city at the center there to for a tournament that they had. As you heard, we did have the National League of Cities and did attend that. The tree lighting at the town center will be on the 17th at 5:45. As you heard, I did receive the letter for intent to retire from Chief McLaughlin. I want to thank him for all his service, and thank the chief for giving me advance notice. So thank you for that. The Central Maryland Transportation and Mobility Commission has announced a 30-day public comment period on proposed routes and schedule changes affecting a majority of RTA's fixed routes. That is a press release that Ms. Barnes' shop has put out. I encourage you to take a look at that. And actually, I'm sorry. Or did you all put that out? Okay, yeah, posted. I'm sorry. And if you ride the local bus, I encourage you to come out and participate in that public hearing. Mr. President, just a couple. I'm sorry. One other. On November the 17th, from 9:30 to 12, Citizens Helping Citizens event at the Parkman Kaiser Public Safety Complex will be held, which is at 811 5th Street. That is on Stop the Bleed, No Hands CPR, several other things that will be going on that day. So we really want the public to come out and participate. And I want to thank and acknowledge our employees, as well as our emergency manager, Steve Allen, for helping put this together. And we have trained the trainers that'll be there, as well as the Leona Rowe from the Laurel Rescue Squad. 9:30 to 12. 10. You're right. 10 to 1. Yep. Get there at 9:30. You'll be on time. So that's November the 17th, from 10 until 1. On November the 22nd and 23rd, city offices are closed for Thanksgiving holiday. Check the schedule for trash and recycling pickup. Mr. President, I have 3 mayoral appointments that I'd like to announce. Barbara Boschert for Tree Board, Patsy Faddis, Tree Board, and Bobby McSeany for Tree Board. I'd ask for your concurrence.
Thank you, Mayor. Those are all reappointments?
Yes. Yes.
I move to appoint the 3 people that the mayor has listed for the tree board.
Do I have a second?
I second, Mr. President.
Discussion, call the roll, Ms. Anna?
Miss Nicholas,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Smalls,
I vote yes.
President Liz.
Yes.
Mr. President, I do have one proclamation I'd like to read, whereas Proclamation 2018-22, whereas the City of Laurel wishes to celebrate local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and the community, and whereas it's important for people to support small businesses that they value in their community, and whereas the City of Laurel supports local businesses because they create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods. And whereas advocate groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday, now therefore I, Craig A. Moe, the Mayor of the City of Laurel, do hereby proclaim Saturday, November the 24th, 2018 as Small Business Day, as Small Business Saturday in the City of Laurel, and urge all Laurel citizens to celebrate with us in the City of Laurel. Robert, you want to come get this? Yeah. I'm going to ask Robert Love to come up, accept the proclamation.
I just want to thank the mayor for making this this proclamation. We work very hard in our department to encourage small businesses here in Laurel, and I just think it's excellent for everybody to realize it's kind of a small business that kind of makes a place like Laurel what it is. So we're hoping everybody will come out and not only just utilize this day, but utilize every day kind of as a small business day. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to agenda item number 6, general public hearing. Open the general public hearing at 7:49. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I will close the general public hearing at 7:49 and a half. Move to agenda item number 7. First public hearing, possible action on ordinance number 1933, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, to amend the City of Laurel Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 20, Land Facilities and Public Rights of Way, to provide for certain amendments to the standards and regulations relating to the locations, placement, design, construction, and maintenance of telecommunications towers, antennas, and other structures within the city's public rights of way, consistent with the recently issued final order of the Federal Communications Commission regarding this subject matter and providing an effective date. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. I'll open the public hearing at 7:50. I have no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing at 7:50 and a half. The second public hearing with possible action is scheduled for the next mayor and city council meeting on November 26, 2018. That concludes the agenda. Meeting's adjourned.
I think you had something.